The Pats got their trade deadline kind of started early on Monday. They started trading away some homegrown players. Kyle Duggar out the door. Keion White out the door. Marcus Jones staying long term. And I'm starting to see people saying, wow, Patriots selling off at the trade deadline? This good a team? No. That is not what's going on here. Yeah, you basically traded two guys away for nothing. But two guys who weren't playing for you. Kyle Duggar was no longer starting, and they're concerned his ankle's never going to be 100% again, and whether he can still play in the NFL. And Keion White was a healthy scratch on Sunday. Writing was kind of on the wall there. Now, you only got 2 6th-round picks for them, and you had to part with a 7th-round pick with each of them in almost identical deals. Keion White going to San Francisco, Kyle Duggar going to Pittsburgh. It was certainly a big deal around the football world, just maybe not as much inside of New England. The Keion White deal is interesting because he has a year and a half of a rookie deal still left. Like, this was a dude we were all excited about, even at the beginning of last year. And we were excited about him. Keion White was excited about playing here, playing for Mike Vrabel. You remember in the offseason, he had that damning quote about finally having a coach.
I traded myself. Now I feel like I have a coach.
Didn't have one with Jerod Mayo, felt he had one with Mike Vrabel. Only problem is it looks like he just doesn't fit into the system for Mike Vrabel. And the proof was in the pudding by how much he was playing, and maybe more importantly, how much he was not playing. They bring in Harold Landry, Kayvon Chason. Two guys have combined for 10 sacks through 8 games this year. They've both been excellent. It appears that Keion White was just never really a fit. And that's too bad because he was a promising talent. He was a guy I was so excited about in 23 in the early parts of 24 as well. Looks like they finally hit on one of those low risk, high reward kind of pass rushers like they've gone after in the 4th and 5th rounds over the years. So it does feel like a bit of a soft return, especially considering the fact that San Francisco desperately needs some pass rush right now. But again, the healthy scratch thing on Sunday, probably a nail in the coffin. So that's the more surprising of the two trades, but can't be too stunning. Now, Kyle Duggar to Pittsburgh, that made a lot more sense. Financially, that made a lot more sense. Ian Rappaport reporting the Patriots are paying most of the $5.4 million salary Duggar is owed this year, but that the final 2 years of that big contract he signed last April is actually going to be White. He's going to become a free agent after this season. There was some confusion when Duggar signed this deal. There was all the things with the franchise tag and what position he would play long-term and whether he was going to stick around in a post-Belichick world. He was a very Belichickian kind of player. Not that that's a bad thing, but he signed the big deal in 2024. This was the list of guys that Elliott Wolf extended, even though Belichick was out the door. Remember, it was him, it was Godshaw, it was Jabril Peppers, all guys who don't play for the team anymore, weirdly enough. If Kyle Duggar physically can be near 100%, he could still play in this league. Obviously Swiss Army knife guy, good in coverage, maybe better in the box, but he might just be damaged goods. He had the ankle surgery in January and hasn't shown that he's been 100% since then. It's a big reason why Craig Woodson is starting at safety. He's not very good either. They didn't want to keep up with the salary after this year, is I think what really shows that. But you are really thinning out your depth at an already thin position. And to be honest, the Patriots are pretty lucky they have not gotten the injury bug yet. But you want to talk about San Francisco needing Keion White's help. The Steelers need all the help they can get on defense. Man, this is a fascinating stat that I read on Monday. It's just crazy. 7th team since the merger to give up 450 yards of offense and not force a turnover in back-to-back weeks. That is a Steelers team that turned the Patriots over 5 times earlier this year. 5 times. That was the last time they lost the Patriots. But even with Kyle Duggar and Keion White going out the door for almost nothing. I can't emphasize this enough. This is not the Patriots selling before the trade deadline. That is categorically not what this is. In fact, it's just the opposite. Because now what do the Patriots have? They have slightly more cap space this year with getting Duggar out of here, a bit more for the next 2 years without that contract. They already had more cap space than anybody in the league, and now they have 10 draft picks in the 2026 draft. That does not mean they are just focusing on the draft and rebuilding this thing with homegrown players. First off, you're probably too good to not buy at all at the trade deadline right now. Like, you're too good to have 10 draft picks right now. And also, that's not how Mike Vrabel builds his teams. We have seen that time and time and time again. They're not picking 10 guys in the 2026 draft. This means they are ready to pounce. They are ready for a blockbuster next Tuesday at the NFL trade deadline. That is what they have set themselves up for here. It's not just selling for selling's sake, not selling for some extra assets. The extra assets are going to be used to make a big time deal. There's no way the Patriots aren't buying at this trade deadline. No way. At 6-2 and hopefully 7-2 by the time that comes around and atop their division. So now where do you look? A few weeks ago, it looked like wide receiver was going to be the most likely position they added to, right? A.J. Brown, Chris Olave should still be really interesting, by the way, not in a bad way, but that's no longer the case. That's the kind of thing Drake May can cover for you, right? He's made Keion White into an NFL receiver. He's making Pop Douglas into an NFL receiver. And you got Stephon Diggs, and the tight ends are always big in the pass game for McDaniels and for Drake May. So that covers it up. You don't have an elite receiver room, but you might not need one. What they want to do is they want to bolster their pass rush and their run game. That's the kind of thing that Drake May can cover all the rest for you, and you just make that better and become a more well-rounded team while Drake's not making anything. Does that mean Trey Hendrickson? Did I hear Trey Hendrickson's music? Cincinnati still can't sign him to a long-term contract. The Patriots can, okay? They have capital to make a trade like that, and Trey Hendrickson might actually want to play here because they're going to be good for years to come, it looks like, and the Patriots can give him the money that that he is looking for. Again, more cap space than anyone in the league. Not only is he one of the best pass rushers in football, but he's got the best ability, availability. He has started every game the last 2+ years, and while he only has 4 sacks this year, 17.5 in each of the last 2 seasons. Trey Hendrickson, you are a New England Patriot, man. Does it make any more sense than that to bring Trey Hendrickson in here as Cincinnati continues to falter and they're tying up all their money in these receivers and they don't even have a quarterback that can throw to them most weeks? Trey Hendrickson takes the Patriots to a complete other level and gives him the money that he wants. To me, that is such an easy call. Easy call. Of course, Cincinnati will try to hold you over the barrel here. They might try to get a first-round pick or 2 out of it. Like, that's what they're going to try because Trey Hendrickson's that good. But with where you're at right now and how close you are, like, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, but with how close you are to having a team that is good enough to do that, it is time to pay Trey Hendrickson if you can get him in here. Or maybe it's Arden Key. That's a guy who Mike Vrabel loved in Tennessee, obviously brought him to Nashville, gave him some big money. He's a lot more Harold Landry than he is Trey Hendrickson. You know, kind of that prototypical pass rushing 3-4 outside linebacker. Sounds a lot like Mike Vrabel, by the way. Could definitely be a great move. I think Mike Vrabel does see a lot of himself in Arden Key, another guy who is looking for some money, but really also looking for a winning situation. And Tennessee, we saw how much of a mess that is. They are trying desperately to get any kind of capital they can to make this rebuild go a little bit faster. Or maybe it's Alvin Kamara. Maybe Alvin Kamara is your guy that you're looking at the trade deadline. Running back is still a position of need for the Patriots, more so than wide receiver at this point. He's a guy who can be a bell cow, every down back, help you blocking, help you in the pass game. And with Antonio Gibson out for the year, Alvin Kamara is a big name, big play kind of back who can complement Ramondre, can complement Trayvon Henderson pretty nicely. And if Ramondre still can't hold on to the ball, Alvin Kamara can be your every down back. He can be that for you down the stretch. He obviously, I don't need to tell you how good Alvin Kamara is and how versatile he is. Even though his best years are probably behind him, the guy can still play. And I don't know if he wants out of New Orleans necessarily, but New Orleans is in the Tennessee boat. New Orleans is looking to do anything to get some draft capital and start a rebuild here if they haven't started a rebuild already. So it is this weird misconception that because the Patriots traded Kyle Duggar and Keion White, that they are just selling, that they're not trying to go all in this year, that they're looking more towards the draft. I just don't think that could be any farther from the truth. I think what you've got here is a team that's traded a couple of guys who weren't fitting into their rotation, and they're going to stockpile some picks that they can use within the next week. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on. And I do find it funny. Burt Breer was on radio recently talking about Mike Vrabel and his time at Ohio State and how when he and Urban Meyer got there, they didn't want to, push all the old players out and bring their old guys in or their guys in. They wanted to deal with the players they had. We chose you. You didn't choose us. Like that kind of thing. And how, man, that's working with the Patriots. Is it? Is it? Dietrich Wise, Jonathan Jones, Kyle Duggar, Keon White, all guys whom either have been decent players for the Patriots like Duggar and Keon White, or guys who have won Super Bowls with the Patriots in the case of Wise and Jones, who just don't have roles. They don't fit into the Mike Vrabel system, and so they're gone. So sometimes it isn't just about the coach adapting to the players. Sometimes it is the other way around, and that's okay. But this has been massive roster turnover. So don't give me this BS line that, oh, no, he'll work with who he's got because Drake May is still here. Yeah, of course he's going to work with Drake May. But look at all the contributors to this team and how many were brought in this year, right? Campbell and Henderson through the draft, plus Carlton Davis and Milton Williams and Robert Spillane and Morgan Moses, obviously. And, all these guys up and down, Steph Diggs, up and down the list of these guys that came in this year and are the ones contributing for the Patriots right now. So, yeah, he's going to stick with Drake May. He extended Marcus Jones. That's fantastic. But it does not mean that Mike Vrabel is just willing to go with whatever roster you hand to him and he'll make magic out of it. No, he has had insane roster turnover, but it's working. We love that. It's working. So the Patriots are going to be players at the trade deadline. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Who do you want at this trade deadline coming up on Tuesday? Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you every weekday live at noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio.